Well, we are back again, and
Hello, hello.
we're so excited today. Just to give a little brief sneak peek, we wanted to share more about our background of why we starting this podcast, kind of the vision behind it, and even kind of going over why we even chose the name At the Table and all of the fun stuff, all the good details. And so before we do that, hi, my name is Yehna.
Hi, I'm Jessie, and welcome to our second episode of At
At
the
the table.
Table. Exciting stuff. No,
Yes.
but like Yana said, I'm excited to start talking about like how this all started. I feel like for Yana and I, it really started post college. But Yana, what was it like for you? Can you give us a rundown of what was graduation slash post college first year like for you? Walk us through that experience. That's a
Ooh.
loaded question because you're like, how much
That's
should I share?
that's a lot that's going on. Honestly, initially, it was still kind of COVID season, so there was a lot of anxiety in searching for a
Mhm.
job and all of those fun things. And I kind of came out of college extremely burned out. And
Mm.
I was at this place where I'm like, am I even gonna get a teaching job? Should I try something else? But in kind of in the panic of it all, I mass put out my application and I got a teaching position eventually. So
Yay.
initially it kind of was like chaos, and then I got like super excited because I was living by myself and
Mm.
apartment, and I was kind of in this like honeymoon phase of like, guess what, I'm out of that college,
I'm making it.
I'm making it, clean slate, awesome. And then it like hit me like a truck, all the unprocessed emotion and
Mm.
all of just even kind of the aftermath of my student teaching experience, just and everything that I thought I had figured out in my face. So
Mm.
kind of quick answer to kind of summarize my initialish experience of postgrad was like a lot of just finally saying, wow, I'm overwhelmed.
Mm. What
And
would you say the first emotion, like when you were like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I can't hold this in anymore. What was the
hmm.
first emotion you felt about yourself? You're like, oh, shoot.
um, it made me travel back to high school, and
Mm.
the same message I would say to myself during that time. I felt extremely worthless. Kind of like,
Hmm.
well, I'm getting what I deserve, kind of thing. That's a lot of words for one emotion, but kind of the gist of it is I just felt very unfixable.
Mm.
I hit a place where I'm like, oh, you know how people are like, when you hit rock bottom, all you have is up. Like, I truly felt like I've hit rock bottom and that was my destiny, if that makes sense. That was just my final destination. This is
Right. There's
where I'm
no
gonna,
way of
yeah,
getting out of it. Right.
exactly. I just was like, dead end. But what can I do? This is where you were going anyway, kind of thing. So
Mm.
it
And this
was,
was end of 2021 for you.
yeah, end of 2021. I really started rough. Even with 2022, I started with having COVID. We were all
Right.
isolated. Everyone
Rough
was,
city.
it was a rough situation.
We
Hey,
remember our New Year's, we
yes,
celebrated it together on Zoom.
at least that was the
Everyone was
highlight. That was the highlight though, because it was, okay, I know this is gonna expose myself a little bit, but I was coming back from Texas, being with family over the Christmas break, which was so nice. And
right.
then I had to cut my trip short because I saw that a snow blizzard was coming in Illinois, as if I left the day that I was planning to go. So I had to leave home early. I couldn't celebrate New Year's with them. I cried all the way back to Illinois. It was just like
I remember that.
such a depressing moment. And I was trying to be so upbeat during that Zoom call. I know all of us were trying. All of us were
Just keeping it
hurting.
together.
We were
Yeah.
all hurting. Pain in our face as we're trying to drink our apple juice.
And counting down like on the screen together when it's all
Ooh, I
glitching.
needed to. It was cute. It was a cute moment. It was a cute moment. I will say.
Yes, for sure. No, but that kind of gives me an idea, like a rundown of like, okay, you graduated in May
Yes.
and you went home for a bit, you figured out, you want to come back here, you established your life. Like you really from the get-go just like went for it, right? You got a job, you got a place, you were living by yourself, like you were paying for like you're paying your bills, like you were off to the start and
Adulting.
thinking, okay, I got to figure out the rhythm. And then everything came crashing down.
Right. And it was so discouraging because I went back into that mentality. I was like, I'm going to prove people wrong, which is such a unhealthy mentality that I grew up having. And it was not like a positive thing where I'm like, I'm going to really establish myself. It was more like rooted from this bitter heart of like, because I was told, whether it was directly or indirectly, somewhere along the way, I heard the message of I was a failure of some sort. But I like really try to counteract that by doing kind of mindlessly. And the thing is, it was not because I loved it, but I convinced myself enough I did.
Right.
But yeah, so it
And I
was
think a lot of people can relate to that, right?
right through that. It spiraled this place of like resentment because I'm like, why am I doing this? Why do I have to do this? But it's like really just I did that to myself kind of thing. But again, kind of pulling myself back. Once the new year started for this year, 2022, I just got to a place where I remember just sitting, but I sat like in between this mirror and thinking, kind of like looking out of the window, thinking, what am I doing? Like, what am I living for at this point? I don't like anything. I don't like anything.
Right.
I didn't run this hard to get here. I didn't do all this to just get to a place where I'm like, what is happening? I will say this though. One thing I am so grateful for, or like proud of myself for not doing is which is different from being in high school. In high school, I immediately questioned the existence of God.
Right.
That's immediately where my brain went. Whereas this, it's not a positive thing for sure, but whereas during postgrad, instead of like, I was more like ashamed of kind of, to paint a picture, it's more like, in the Bible where the tax collector goes to pray and like the Pharisee goes to pray, the position that the tax collector was. That's just how I felt. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to even let God see who I have become because I couldn't recognize who I was.
It was just instant like shame and guilt for you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, but yeah.
Yeah. And like what's crazy is, to give you guys some context, Yehna and I had reconnected because Yehna moved back to Illinois and
Right.
we both were trying to be teachers. I had already been a teacher for a year by then, but we had been meeting every single week at my apartment for dinner. And all of this that Yehna just shared, like, was not revealed. Like, we both were going through a hard time, I think, on our own. And it wasn't until like when 2022 hit that everything came crashing down for both of us.
Right.
And we were like, all right, we're going to put this mask down. Like, we're going to be real here because we've been showing up every week and it's not been the true us or the true me. You don't know what's going on behind the closed doors. And this is actually what's happening. And
yeah,
when that happened, it just opened up a floodgate of opportunities for us to process all of that together. Right.
Yeah. I still remember in my living room, February. I always tell people this. My new year started on February, like even new me.
Right.
That's when I think Jessie started opening up. And then in the moment I was like, oh my gosh, me too. And it was like, what the heck? I can't believe, like, I mean, I do believe it. Yes, we're very private people, but at the same time, it was just like, I couldn't believe that someone could understand this. And not more than that, it was like, I said all this and Jessie still stayed. And
Right.
I think my worst case scenario for the, I know I'm being dramatic. I'm a little dramatic, but for the first time ever, I felt like, oh, she's gonna stay in my. I was not abandoned. I don't have abandonment issues. I
That's
promise.
a whole nother story for
I promise.
later.
But
But being TCKs and MKs.
I I think no one ever told me this, but and I don't blame anyone for having this message in my heart. But first, ever since I was little, something, it's definitely the devil, but I truly believed I was drawing people away. And so for me to share this, and then Jesse's like, yeah, I was like, oh,
You weren't supposed to agree with me, or like,
okay,
yeah, you're like, why? Right.
let's see if she comes back tomorrow. Let's see this. Like, and then we met 3 times a week. Like, what the heck?
Which is weird because like I usually get tired of people slash like I need my own space. We're both introverts, right? But the fact that like we were excited to see each other that often. I mean, granted, it was like Bible studies, it was
Yes.
church, then it was like
Mhm.
an actual meal, but
Right.
we needed it. We were like craving that connection and
Right.
craving that time because it was such a space of healing for us, I think.
Mhm.
And Yena, I think it's also like God's timing
Right.
that we didn't open up to each other until then. Cause
Yeah.
I mean, we shared in our first episode, like we had known each other from college and I was Yena's like quote unquote mentor and like I would check in on her. And yeah, we developed a friendship, but it really took this year for us to like really just put our masks down.
Right.
Um, and to just give a little context about where I'm coming from, I
Mhm.
was a COVID graduate. So I graduated in 2020 and finding a job was rough. I mean,
Mhm.
I couldn't find a job until 2 weeks before the actual school year started, as a special needs teacher, which is like in high demand. So I was
Right.
panicking. I did like 20 interviews. You know, I was just in constant survival mode.
Mhm.
And I'm sure COVID has had a huge effect on that. But I think because I was just constantly trying to stay above water, the connection with God just like wasn't there for me. And it continued that way. And I think I was having a lot of insecurities with my friendships and with my relationship, with my parents too, and my siblings. And I think like everything seems so imbalanced. And
Right.
I don't know about twos, but if you guys know about twos, but I think at least for me, I can, I feel like when things weren't great for me, but I
Right.
wasn't dying. I'm in this like lukewarm. I don't know. Do you relate, Yana? Like,
I get what you mean. Like, she's like so good at serving. So societal terms, she's like thriving outwardly. You like, for me, I would have
right,
never known because she's inviting me to her house. She's creating a safe space. I'm like, damn, she's like on it. And but she,
right.
because she herself is not almost not aware, I guess. She's like hurting, but she's like, why am I hurting? Like, what, for what reason, I guess. But sorry, go.
Exactly. No, you perfectly like summarized that for me. Like I wasn't thriving and I wasn't dying. I was
Right.
kind of in this in between, and that's like the most dangerous part, like season to be in for me personally.
No, for sure.
Because I don't A realize that I'm in that season, and
Mm,
then B, I am that means that I'm not connecting with God, and that has a
right.
huge effect on my outlook on life, like my
Hmm.
positivity and like so I just wasn't doing well at all.
Right.
And it affected my relationships. It affected my outlook on my job. Like I was like, is there more to life than this? Like, is this
Right.
what my adulting, like, is this what adulting is? Is this what
Girl.
the rest of
Oof.
my life is gonna look like? Because it is not looking great for me. I mean, it's not amazing, it's not horrible, but
Right.
I'm
It's
not, there's
like
something
icky.
missing.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's something missing. And it took just a huge event in my life to happen for me to realize like where does my foundation lie?
Mm,
what am I like you said, what am I living for?
Right.
Because yeah, I finally made it in that I have a job that pays the bills. I can buy what I want. I can treat my siblings to meals. But like there was so much more to the adult life. I thought that like I had made it and
Mm,
I thought I pictured my life to be looking like a certain way and it was
right.
nothing like it was. And that disappointment was so big that it ate me up slowly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So going back to you, Yana, when we decided to share and take that mask off, like where did at the table start? Like how did this all come
Mm.
together for us?
Literally at the table. When I say that, not trying to be funny, but like we were saying, we met so often, and it was for such an amazing reason. We both were like, we need to do something. We started with kickboxing.
Such a
I was
joke.
I almost forgot about that. I almost forgot about that.
I
Okay,
can't
but
believe you mentioned that.
I'll be honest, to granted, the kickboxing kind of started before we started processing, before we even knew both of us were dying slowly slash rapidly. But you could tell that was our cry for help. The fact that I was so proud of myself, but I'm not gonna lie, it probably made our mental health decline. It
Which
sped
was
up
the
the process.
opposite of what we were trying to do.
Exactly. Okay, but I'm proud of us for doing that. And
Okay.
then it kind of started with that. And then we met, when we started, like, when we were starting to try to bring ourselves out of that rut, we're like, we should start Bible study. Like, we should go to a Bible study. And both were like, that's kind of crazy. Because again, we said it's going to be a space where we need to be vulnerable. We need to share our thoughts. We need to do discussion. We meet with like strangers. But anyway, and we like did that. We were meeting not just for Bible study every Wednesday. We started meeting for meals on Thursday, and then we went to church together on Sunday. And during that time, we ate together all three meals. One would be like corporately, and then both of them would be just us two, one on one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where all of these conversations really started, starting all the way from like when we were a baby, and just every thought processes that we had or were almost like didn't know existed. And as we were processing, we were like, wait a second.
Everything
It
connecting.
was like started connecting. And again,
Yeah.
that all started while we were literally eating meals. Just we were, and so, and then not to get biblical, but really, even so many of those like relationships with Jesus and his disciples started in a meal. And the way he never forgot to feed his people during his ministry, and people saw miracles during meals, and just
Mm-hmm.
he was at the table where he then chose to wash the feet of his disciples, like, and all these things were just, I just saw like, wow, that's such a powerful message. And also we love food. So
Yeah.
I think I just wanted to commemorate, if that's the right word, like our
Yeah.
where we started, and where just so much of our healing began. And I personally love that it was truly while we're eating, and because eating is so casual. We do it every day. This is a place where we have fellowship. This is a place where, we're able to just not really be worried about how you appear. You're just like, okay, we're gonna eat lunch and stuff. And so I was,
But yeah.
sorry, you
No,
go.
I was going to say what's crazy about that though is to give you guys more context. This is from literally February until May. This is like about February, March, April, 4 months of doing this, eating 3 times a week, going to church together. And we weren't previously, we weren't
Yeah.
before that. It was like 4 months of just like just intense. It was such a full 4 months
Hmm.
because this is really where our friendship really took off. This is
Hmm.
where all the conversations happened because Yana moved and I went, doing my summer travels and like
Right.
Just to give you guys context, like this isn't continuing now. Like this was just this pure, like God blessed us with these 4 months of being able to do this. And
He was like detox time, guys. You just need to
yeah,
cleanse your soul. And it
yeah.
really was that. I never knew I could be in a place where this would happen. At some point, I believed the lie that I was going to live as a failure for the rest of my life. And
Mm,
the mediocre life was for me, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not saying mediocre is bad. I'm just saying, like, I thought I was going to live in this like weird gray zone and I was going to feel
mm,
numb for the rest of my life. And again, but God was like, nope, I got better plans for you. And
yeah.
but he said, I can't give you that until you lay it all out
Mm.
at the table. Anyway, but
And it's painful. It's uncomfortable. But I
yes.
think that's why it led to Yana and I's vision of, okay, this 4 months have impacted us so much. Like, what can we do with this? And then we
Mhm,
started to talk about our future, our hopes, our dreams, and we realized, okay, this is something that is too good to be true, and we need to share this.
yeah.
Like, we want to continue these conversations. We want
Mhm,
to, because if I don't know, like people have be reals and people are like trying to be vulnerable, but I don't know. I feel like we're just all craving for that connection
mhm.
and for just to relate to people. And I don't know. I don't see that often, especially
No.
because of COVID and especially because we're just all closed off in our own, doing our own thing in our own world. And I don't know. I think that's our Would you second that, Yana? What
No.
is our like vision with this whole at the
Yes.
table thing?
I had so many visions. I had like 500 million balloons going up into the sky. So I needed a little bit of Jessie to bring me down. But yeah, just to reiterate what Jessie was saying and to completely agree with that, I was like, if nothing else, I wanted a place where we could just share this. And it's like, I don't want to hide this candle anymore because this, I almost wish I had 23-year-old Yehna come to 12-year-old Yehna and say, guess what? At some point, whatever you're going through will hopefully touch the lives of someone else. And
Mm,
you're not going through this in vain. And eventually, yes, it's going to be a hard lesson. There's going to be a lot of like hard pills to swallow because as humans, we want to do this like it's your fault and your fault, or like it's like, oh my gosh, it's all my fault, and we don't want we don't want any of that. No more of that. Bye. And so,
mm,
and yes, there's so many different communities and I want everyone to be a part of this, but for now I really want to tell other TCKs, guys, we can be free too. And we are able to be like amazing people out there in this world. But it really starts with you and God. And I want you to join in all these conversations because don't be afraid to have it. You can have questions. You can have all of those things, but don't do it on your own. Like don't
mm.
fight it on your own. And I wish I had started this earlier, but at the same time, I'm so glad God was so gracious that he allowed me to realize this in my early 20s, not like 40 years later. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No,
It's
right.
never too late, but I'm
I
just
mean,
very gracious.
no, for sure. I mean, it's God's timing that we realize that together because there's more power in that, right? That
Mhm.
we were in this same season of realizing like we're so broken and we have so much childhood trauma. Like we can't do this alone. Like it's enough is enough.
Right.
Stop trying to do this on your own and stop trying to act like we can figure it out on our own because that's not true. So even if you're not TCK, literally, it's just we're just 23, 24-year-olds trying to figure out life. And I hope that, obviously you can tell by just listening to us, we've got a lot of unpacking that we're still doing in
Yes.
therapy and outside of
Oh,
therapy and
yes.
together as friends, but that you guys would feel encouraged in hearing our thought process because
Hmm.
I mean, we aren't perfect. And I think, I don't know, hopefully that'll be encouraging to you that we're just all figuring it out together. So that's our hopes. And I hope that you guys felt like you could take away something from this. I mean, we rambled a lot, but it
At least
just
that's one thing. Somewhere there.
something, yeah. It just comes to show you that like we're excited about all the things that we're going to talk about. And yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
I'm so excited. I'm like, again, thank you so much, everyone, for even supporting us on our Instagram. We literally just opened it. And yes, a lot of you guys are already just our close friends and like friends that or family friends we know, or even literally our blood related family. Um, but I'm not gonna underestimate that, you guys. Thank you so much. I can't believe we're even doing this. And I truly hope we're an encouragement and that this will, even if it's our little tiny community, I hope that will be an encouragement and a light to you all. Um, and we'll learn something too from doing this for I don't know how long, but this is the beginning. And again, thank you all for joining, and please we're looking forward to more stories and more rambling sessions and more just sessions where we're like brain dumping, so it'll be fun.
Basically, everything is a brain dump for us because we just like we're supposed to talk about one thing and then it leads to like, oh, about my childhood, and then oh, no, about my
Yep.
family, But thanks for tuning in. We will
Yes.
see you next time at episode 3.
Yes.
Thanks for listening.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.